Hello everyone, and this is the first lesson of my Vanilla Doom editing series. This one is titled Getting Started with Sector Creation. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go ahead and configure our main Doom 2 IWAD, and we do this by going to Tools, Configuration. From there, go to the Files tab and browse for your Doom 2 IWAD under your Doom 2 engine. So what basically this is going to do is make it where we have Doom 2 resources to draw from to make our level. Okay, with that done, go to File, New Map, and make sure you have the engine selected that you configured. It should have been Doom 2. Okay, and level name is going to basically define what map number your level is going to be. It can be up to 32. But right now we're going to go ahead and do map 01. Press OK. Alright, now I'm going to be using zoom a lot on this grid. So basically just to do that, just use your mouse 3 button and your scroll on your mouse and just to zoom in and out. Basically, right now the grid is set at 32 units. Which means that between each intersection point there's 32 units of space. Okay? And 2, 64, and 3 is 96, and so on and so forth as you go on making walls. Thing is, with this, you can't really get down and deep into the real small stuff. 32 is pretty wide for detailing and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go into the grid settings here and change it to 8. Now with 8, you're going to notice all your dots in between are going to shrink down, and this is going to be basically 8 units per grid, which you can get. See, you can get a pretty small square in there. Now, basically, I wanted to go ahead and take a second and explain what this is here. Now, I know you see a grid. What does it mean? Basically, this grid here, which has nothing in it right now, think of it basically as a blank space. There is nothing there. You basically have to create what you want to be in this space. So to do this, go ahead and make sure you're in sector mode. To do this, go to Edit, select Sector Mode, or press S. Once that's done, press your Insert key, and you'll get this dragging dot. From there, click anywhere on the grid, preferably an intersection point, because when you get to aligning floors, it really helps to have this aligned with the grid properly. So with that done, draw out a line and click at the very end. What this is right here, this defines one wall in a whole room. So to complete this whole room here, we'd have to make 3 more walls to equal it out. And there. Now we have one room. But in order to be able to save it or go into 3D mode, which 3D mode is going to be covered in the next lesson, you have to have at least 2 sectors before you can do anything. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and create another sector right here in the middle. And that basically serves as another sector. Now the special thing about these sectors is this middle sector here can be completely different than this sector on the outside. It can either be brighter for light, darker. It can have different heights and special effects like damaging a player, like if he's in slime and stuff like that. So basically, if you want to make a certain section of the level different than the other section, you have to make another sector. So with that, we'll go ahead and go about how sectors need to be added to a level. Now when you make a sector, you don't want to have a sector going through lines. No matter what, you don't want to do this, because this will really mess it up. You see it's reading this line here is part of this room, and it is not how it's supposed to be. So go ahead and Control Z to get rid of that. Now when you make a sector, it's either got to be on the inside or the outside of another sector. Okay? So basically, say we wanted to create stairs. What we'd have to do is make a little 32 by 128 sector on this outside, and basically you just draw it out. See, now we have one step there, and you could just keep adding these in, and we'll make one more here. And we'll make one more just to have a ledge, so it'll end up at, okay, and okay, now you see how this line right here is messed up, and it's very crooked. That leads us into our next thing. What you wanted to see, you can edit pretty much any corner of this level here. Anything that has a corner to it, you can pretty much pull and drag wherever you pretty much want, as long as you're not dragging it over a line and making sectors collide and stuff like that. But to get into this mode where you can edit these things, you'd have to go to Edit and Vertices mode, or just press the V button. With that done, you can right click on any of these, you see how they're enlarged now, and drag out to wherever you want it. See, now I'll go ahead and fix this ramp thing here, and there we go, it's fixed. See? Now if I wanted to make this larger, I can make it larger. I could drag it out 4 in each corner, and that would then make all walls 128, and it's much larger. Stuff like that. But one real important thing you can do with this is you can go anywhere on the line and press the insert key, and it adds one. Now what this does is it splits your wall. That means that anything here can be different than for anything here. And if you want to have it like in 3 sections, you add another one, and now you can see by going into lines mode or pressing L, doing the same edit lines mode, you'll see this says length here on the corner there. It says 128. Now that means that there's in textures, you'll learn that there are like a couple different sizes. There's 64, 128. They can get as big as 256. Now you can make this 128 texture here, and it would give to the level just a little more detailed look, and you can do that with different things. What you can also do is, like I said, you can take those vertices, you can drag them out, or go back into lines mode by pressing L, shortcut key, or edit lines mode, and you can right click and drag this whole line with you. You can drag that up, just give the level a little better look there. See, it's not complete square now. See, now another thing is, you notice I made the stairs there, but there's nothing stair about them. If we went in 3D mode and looked at it or went in game, it would just look like a flat sector. That's basically what all this is defined as. Is by default it is 0 and 128, and that gives you a 128 height between the floor and the ceiling. And that's the same for all out this whole thing, because even though I draw a sector, it doesn't change properties until I change the properties. So to do that, you want to go in sector mode to change the properties, and just put your cursor over a sector. With that, what you can do is on your keyboard, look for the home and end keys. Pressing home will allow your sector's floor to move up. Pressing end will allow it to move down. And to do the ceiling, go one over, and the page up and page down keys will move your ceiling up and down. Now when you learn in texturing, as soon as you learn texturing, you'll realize that once you move a sector up, you're going to have to texture the bottom texture of that texture, or once you move the ceiling up, you'll have to texture the upper and all that stuff. You'll learn that later on with 3D mode and stuff. So what I want to do basically is by pressing the key once, you'll see I get 8 units above the ground, right? Okay, now if I want to make this like a stairwell thing, this should obviously have to be higher than this first one. So I did 1 there, and I'll go ahead and do 2 here and 3 here, and then 4 here to finish off. Now it says 8, 16, 24, and 32. We have a stairwell now. So basically, that's basically how you go about changing the heights, and you can make your level have so many different heights. It's crazy, and it just brings a lot of depth to your level when it comes to making it. The last thing you can do, or one of the last things you can do really, is say I wanted to have a pillar right there in the middle of my level. You could either go ahead and use your floor thing to raise this to the ceiling, which this is really adding geometry that you really don't need in your level if you raise it to the ceiling, unless you're going to have it lower with a monster or something. But right now I have this thing is basically the floor's moved up to the ceiling, which adds more to the level. But if you just want to have this be a pillar and you're not going to use it for anything, the best thing to do would be to highlight it and then just press your delete key. Oh, right there. Remember how in the beginning I was telling you that everything on this outside is basically an empty space and we are building things into it? Well, this piece right here just became a part of this empty space on the outside. So now there's nothing in this square. What does that do? That makes 4 impassable. You'll learn later on that you get all these different impassable, double-sided, stuff like that. You'll learn that with action specials, about 3rd lesson. It makes these where you cannot go past these walls, and these just are more defined walls that you can texture and make pillars out of. Now, you can do that pretty much with any texture you want. If I deleted one off to the end here, it would delete that whole room and just add this. It would make this the last room to go to. See, go ahead and Control Z that, get that back, just to show you, give you an example. Like if I delete this, it's going to separate into 2 different sectors because it breaks that whole sector off. It gets rid of it. Control Z. And the last thing I want to go ahead and show you is you could start. You have 2 out of the 3 things you need to start a level. Basically, well, you have 1 out of the 2 things you need to start a level. Okay, the one being you need more than 1 sector. Okay, now you have 4 here, or 5 here, and the reason you have that is because here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, there's nothing in this sector, so it doesn't actually count on your total number of sectors because there's nothing there. This is all 1 sector now. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is how to add a player start. A player start is also needed if you're going to play the game in-game. So to do this, you want to go ahead and go into Things mode, which is T. And I have another lesson coming up, and it's lesson 3, and it's going to deal also with things on the side of action specials. And anyway, what you do is you go into Things mode, and you go ahead and just press Insert anywhere on the grid here. It's going to be, it should be in a room, because if you start on the outside, it's going to give you an error when you try and load it up. So go ahead and point it anywhere. I'll just go ahead and put it here. Okay. Now, there's a player start. This is just going to give you a basic overview, a quick view at things. Now, there's a player 1 start. By default, it is always a player 1 start when you start up a new level. But what you can do is you can right-click this, and it'll give you a menu of things that you can edit with. Now, say you've seen how I had him facing towards the stairwell. Let's say I want to have him on the other side of this pillar. I can right-click, drag him over there, and let's say I want to have him facing this up here, this wall. I can right-click him and press up. This basically here controls what angle he's going to be looking at when you start and spawn at the level. So let's just go ahead and make it 90 or straight up, whatever you prefer to call it. Make sure this is in here, easy, medium, hard, because it's going to be in there anyway. And it's mainly used for monsters, stuff like that. Press OK, and you have a player 1 start, and you have a basic level. From here, you could basically go to test and play, which is this one. But it's not going to do you very much because some of your walls aren't going to be textured very well. You can see what textures are on your walls by going into lines mode basically and highlighting. You see how it says missing texture. You learn about more how to fix that once you get into texturing and stuff. But right now, that's the basic lesson 1. That's pretty much all I wanted to show. Lesson 2 will be on 3D mode, and we'll be going in and adding textures and basically getting this thing to look more like a level, and you get to see how you can create something and then go in 3D mode and see that exact thing that you just created. Alright, that's it. See you next lesson.